Hello, everyone. I just wanted to quickly do something, a short video just to summarize basically what we have learned so far about Blake Lively's possible legal strategy to win. And what I wanted to talk about basically is what is on file, what is she asking for, and where is this going? So now discovery is over, largely, the fact discovery. We are in a situation where she, although she shouldn't be asking for further evidence, she still is. But she has kind of shown her hand a little bit. And on this filing here, now this is her motion for the spoliation sanctions. If you remember, Stephanie Jones also made a very similar request for sanctions for the same reasons. And this is the adverse inference here. If I just make it a little bigger, that Blake Lively has asked Judge Lyman for. Now, bear in mind, he has not ruled on this yet. He has ruled on other sanctions motions, the Jamie Heath one and the Melissa Nathan one, where in both cases, I think she also asked there for the judge to enter an order to preclude Jamie Heath and Melissa Nathan from giving any testimony about their respective situations and the disputes. But this is a spoliation one, and she filed this against, pretty much Wayfair as a whole and the Wallace defendants, who are no longer parties. And what it says, what she's looking for is the judge to basically agree defendants intentionally deleted and failed to preserve relevant evidence for this litigation. Defendants anticipated litigation with Miss Lively by at least August 2024, but nonetheless elected to use methods of communication that automatically delete such a signal and, as to the Wallace defendants, voice memos to discuss the execution of the digital campaign against Miss Lively. And defendants failed to take affirmative steps to preserve such communications prior to December 20th, 2024. You may presume from defendants' failure to preserve these signal communications and voice memos that defendants did in fact execute the plan that TAG recommended and for which the Wayfarer parties retained the Wallace defendants, and that defendants intentionally failed to preserve their communications in order to hide this fact. So then she then goes on to say, in addition, the court should issue sanctions precluding defendants from asserting that they did not execute the digital campaign to develop a negative narrative about Miss Lively. So that request, right, this is her first plan of attack, because I see a two-pronged plan of attack. And I am being slightly satirical here, just because you got to have a sense of humor with this. So this is the first prong, right, is Judge Lyman, I want you to tell the jury that they should believe me because we got no evidence, because they threw it away, deleted it, whatever. And also, can you shut them up? I do not want them to give evidence or try to argue their, case. So that is the first prong, right, is to try and get to court with no evidence, but to have the judge kind of ready to go and tell the jury, you've got to believe it. There was evidence. No one has seen it, but we're going to take her word for it. So believe her, and, they won't be telling you any different anyway because I'm telling them not to. That's prong one. Prong two, we got today. And this bit here, so this is this is Blake Lively's motion to the judge. It's regarding the Katie case, subpoena, basically, I got quite sarcastic in my video about it because, to me, what I was reading was that she is essentially gone, do you know what? I can't find evidence of my smear campaign, so I'm just going to, give up on it entirely. And I'm going to go and help my friend and co-conspirator over there, Stephanie Jones. We'll find evidence that she was smeared. And I'm then going to say to the jury, well, look, Melissa Nathan smeared Stephanie Jones, so you need to accept it as a given that she's not credible. And I am, despite me having no evidence either. And the evidence that Wayfarer are supplying contradicted everything I put in my complaint. But you've got to believe me because, this woman smeared Stephanie Jones. Okay. There's a big difference as well, which bothers me a lot about this, is even if Stephanie Jones finds evidence of a smear campaign. Now, at the moment, her case, the defendants are obviously Wayfarer, and then there's also a case against Jen Abel. She has left it open with those 1 through 10, so she can add, she can name defendants as she discovers them. However, merely saying stuff to smear someone is not enough. And Blake, wouldn't be with Blake Lively either. The actual smear campaign in itself is not an actionable. It's not an actionable claim at all. The only reason Blake Lively is here and able to bring the claim is because it is being framed as retaliation for a protected, action, i.e., she is alleging that she was sexually harassed in the workplace. And that the retaliation against her is because she spoke out about that harassment. So that's why that has worked. No, now Stephanie Jones has not alleged any kind of discrimination or sexual harassment of any kind. So the fact that even if she finds evidence of a smear campaign, I'm not sure what weight it will have, particularly. And again, it wouldn't prove that even if Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace had somehow smeared Stephanie Jones and there was evidence of it, that does not prove that they did the same thing to Blake Lively. So I guess I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to be argued. I do want to see how Wayfarer come back at it, but I just think we needed this kind of, like a recap now. Well, we're 4-5 months away from the trial, 4 months away from the trial. Like, how's Blake Lively getting on at convincing us all that Wayfarer did, firstly, sexually harass her, and secondly, they retaliated with a smear campaign? Because, even with Stephanie Jones's, it's going to be hard, because when I talked in my main video earlier about this particular filing, the one thing I said is, well, you've got to see her Glassdoor's reviews as an employer. In fact, I'm just going to pull them up. Okay. Let's look at the first review. Oh, there we go. This is from a former anonymous employee who worked there for more than a year. Whatever you do, avoid this company. Let's see. Okay. It's another 1-star review. Learned how to deal with difficult people. The pros: trauma bonded with co-workers. The cons: mental warfare, unprofessional, environmental, not a place to grow. And just to go back to this one, because I didn't, like I read the kind of title, but the pros, really no pros. The client seemed initially exciting, and the CEO makes a good, good sell about false opportunity, but the bad significantly outweighs the good. The cons, the most toxic environment I've ever worked in. The CEO, bear in mind Stephanie Jones is the CEO, is extremely involved and she is the biggest bully, verbal abuser, and a horrible person. She yells and screams and belittles everyone on her team from higher ups to account coordinators. The amount of names she called me while I was at work there was insurmountable. Seriously, this job affected my mental health, my personal life, and changed me forever. I still have trauma from this experience. Please do not work here and get caught up in the lies of exciting clients and false promising opportunities. So that's just the first two reviews. Here's a third one. This is back in April 2024, this one. This is March 2025. And this one is October 2024. So, but this one is before Jen Abel left. If you want to be miserable, apply now. Pros. Met some amazing people that I'm now trauma bonded to. Well, that's the second time we've heard trauma bonded in one, one website that's talking about what it's like to work at Jonesworks. So that's a big deal. Cons. Work-life balance does not exist. Very long hours and a low unlimited PTO. You're always working, always on, and get little recognition for working such long hours. Dictator / abusive type leadership. Senior management is on a power trip. Oh, very, very high turnover rate. People are not happy at this job. You'll always be getting new co-workers and saying bye to old ones, which can be challenging when trying to build team relationships and get work done. Diversity doesn't exist at this company and they don't seem to care. This is now a little bit fun, so we'll go through it. We'll have a look, right? This is one of the more decent reviews. They 4 out of 5 stars. Was an okay job. This is about as positive as it gets, by the way. And I can't even expand it. Like they've literally kept it down to next to nothing. So this is September 2024. The pros, nice people to work with. The cons, poor pay to say the least. This is July 2023. So this is, this is over a year before Jen Abel was dismissed. 3-star review, mixed bag. They don't recommend it. Pros, nice client, great clients, nice team, members, hybrid work made some friends, interesting work. Cons. And bear in mind, look at even with whether we have got something positive to say, is I don't think I've seen anyone say anything positive about leadership, about the CEO. The pros that I've seen have been about the interesting clients or some of the nice people that you work with. That staff that's, they're not suggesting that the leadership is nice to work with. I think they're suggesting that, they're like-minded colleagues, of a similar level are nice to work with. So cons, they treat their staff very poorly. Everyone works 10 to 12 hours a day and gets no overtime. They also berate you in public if you do something wrong, but there's hardly any training. The salaries are low compared to other agencies, and many people there are looking to leave or have left after a year. It's sad because Steph, and we specifically naming Stephanie Jones here, it's sad because Steph has a great group of people who would be very loyal if she just treated them better. Advice to management. Higher salaries or give people time off for extra hours work. If you want to criticize people, do it in private and in a more professional manner. You have great people working there. You should try to keep them rather than having this revolving door of people coming and going. That's it's a very fair review. Critical of Stephanie Jones and the leadership. And the advice is very fair. You should try to keep your staff. It costs more to have a high turnover of staff. 2-star review. I won't read all of that. Oh, no, I will. It's all about Stephanie Jones. This is September 2023. Again, almost a year before it all kicked off with Wayfarer and Jen Abel. Pros. Very good clients, and the colleagues are wonderful and talented despite being often overworked, verbally abused, and underpaid. Cons. Stephanie Jones, CEO and founder, is a controlling, toxic presence and abuser. And I would neither recommend prospective employees nor prospective clients to join Jonesworks. There is extremely high turnover for a reason at all levels, and that reason starts and ends with Stephanie Jones. Stephanie verbally berates employees, often publicly in front of the whole office and sometimes too in front of clients. Ouch. She also puts down both current and former Jonesworks co-workers constantly. She interrupts you, does not listen, and gaslights you. She will attack you and degrade you if you try to disagree, defend a co-worker, or stand up for work or / accomplishments, among other things. She demonstrates a cyclical abusive nature where one moment she will be sweet, flatter an employee, brag about them to clients, etc., and then a moment later she will flip on them and scream at them. It sounds bipolar. The cycle repeats, and once it starts, it does not end until the employee leaves the company. There is no reasoning with her, and no matter how talented you are or how high quality your work is, she will find something negative and will continuously bring things back to whatever that negative point is. There is also no HR at the company. Most employees are severely underpaid, and there is no formal training provided to employees. Due to the high turnover, junior team members get thrown into situations they do not have the tenure / experience for. Despite being CEO, she interjects herself into the day-to-day of most client accounts at the company. And remember the specific allegations that both Jen Abel and Wayfarer have made against her. And this is matching that. She interjects herself into client accounts. That's exactly what Wayfarer and Jen Abel said she did. And that's why they told her to stand down. And then they eventually walked away because, she caused a problem between Wayfarer and Blake Lively. Jen Abel has complained about the lack of training, the lack of HR, and so on and so forth. We are hearing from all these people, and these reviews, some of them were written long before Jen Abel was terminated. And they are saying exactly what their experience is almost identical to what Jen Abel described. Stephanie Jones is the problem. She perpetuates an atmosphere of fear and intimidation in the workplace, and until she completely removes herself from the day-to-day operations and accounts of the workplace, I would not recommend this place to anyone. Advice to management. I'd normally recommend getting a HR department, but when the problem is the founder, company, namesake, and CEO, I'm not really sure how HR would be successful in solving this issue. I'll probably leave it here now at this one. You're getting the point. Yeah, again, September 2023. September 2023 was obviously a bad month for Stephanie Jones and Jonesworks. 1-star review. Stay far away. Pros. Cool clients and nice office. Cons. Jonesworks is a high school with immature mean girls. The CEO is horrible, and her toxic leadership has led other staff members to act the same way. No HR to protect employees. When things don't go in Stephanie's way, then colleagues are forced to point blame at one another. It's disgusting and unfair to people who sacrifice their time to help make an agency better. High turnover because overall, this is the worst agency in the industry. Soon it will all crumble down, no matter how cool the clients are. Advice to management. Seek help, Stephanie. And hire a HR team to help you manage. Your employees are suffering mentally because of you. This is a really quick one. 1-star, stay away. Pros, they will hire you quickly. Cons, horrible management and a revolving door of leadership. I mean, the list, there is one 5-star review from 2021. Yeah. Again, they don't. That review doesn't talk about Stephanie Jones or leadership, but in general, like as a general review, it was decent. A 4-star review again, nothing. I don't know, 5-star review, nothing about the company. So it looks like in 2021, it was all right. Actually, it was a bit of a mixed bag because we got a few 5 stars and a 4-star. We got a 2-star here. 28th of January 2021. Pass. Pros: you get great first-hand experience. Cons: you're treated like trash and are talked down on. So that was 16 reviews. 2021 was a fairly decent year, but from around 2023 onwards, it was diabolical, to be honest. And the reason I wanted to kind of go through that, because I did that for my deep dive of Stephanie Jones, and it was hilarious. But I think it's pertinent here because how is Stephanie Jones going to demonstrate and quantify any losses that she thinks that she has suffered as a result of any of the websites that were set up about her, or social media posts, or even Wayfarer and Jen Abel? Like, what losses is she going to say she has suffered? She's probably going to argue that she's lost clients, or that she, it's hit her reputation. But reputationally, like, how is Stephanie Jones going to defend her position that her reputation has suffered? Because the starting point was not good. In fact, no, the starting point was about as bad as it gets. So the only way is up. If you look at the Glassdoor reviews from former employees a year before Jen Abel was even terminated, even at that point, like there's a lot of people that we've just heard, and these are just the ones who actually wrote a review on Glassdoor. There will be huge numbers of people who didn't write anything because they I don't think I've ever left a Glassdoor review ever of any place I've worked in. The vast majority of people don't. So there will be a significant amount of people who have probably had these experiences and have not left a review. But the ones who have taken the time to leave a review, when you leave a review, it's normally because you feel very strongly about something. There are, people obviously with negative experiences are coming out in troves to say on Glassdoor, this is my negative experience, stay away. Stay the hell away. Run. But I don't see people who are having overwhelming positive experiences, certainly from 2023 onwards, or should we say after 2021. I am not seeing people pouring out. It was like 1 4-star review was about as good as it got. And even then, that was deeply critical of Stephanie Jones and the leadership. It was positive towards clients, and it was positive towards, co-workers. So I think this is kind of important because what I understand, Stephanie Jones is going for defamation, and she is trying to prove that her reputation has been destroyed by these websites. But honestly, she didn't have a reputation to start with. And she certainly has, she's not claiming retaliation. Her claim is defamation. She is saying, well, no, you're saying all this stuff about me, but it's all lies. But honestly, like I said, what people said a year before Jen Abel was ever terminated is almost word for word. Not literally word for word, but they are saying identical things as what Jen Abel and Wayfarer put in their complaints against Stephanie Jones. And that is not a coincidence, and I hope Wayfarer will point that out, because the burden is on Stephanie Jones then to prove that her reputation has been damaged by the actions of Jen Abel of Wayfarer and of the various people she's alleging are behind these websites. And it is not a genuine lived experience by former employees. Wayfarer are gonna, I would hope, if I was the lawyer on the case, I would be pointing to these Glassdoor reviews and saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure your reputation was, was excellent before any of this? Before Wayfarer, basically terminated their contract with you? Before, Jen Abel walked away, you looked at before you found out on her phone, all these messages, what was going on, etc. Before any case with Blake Lively come about. I think I've always said I think Stephanie is being a bit of a sycophant to Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds because she's probably eyeballing new clients, which should make. I don't think Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are going to be leaving Leslie Sloan at any time soon. She's been there for quite a while, and I don't think that Blake Lively is, is genuinely someone who trusts Stephanie Jones. I think they both use each other. Okay, so there's just some kind of thoughts I had on this. Just kind of thinking outside the box. But when we're looking at these ridiculous filings, and they are getting ridiculous now, in my opinion, anyway. I think this one, Stephanie Jones, this ask, I've said all along, I don't see the relevance of it to. I don't see the relevance of the subpoena to prove anything about the Stephanie Jones Leaks website. Where does that fit into her claim against Jen Abel or Wayfarer? It doesn't. For me, it doesn't. So what if it proves that Melissa Nathan or Jed Wallace had something to do with a website? So what if it proves that Katie Case, who works for Melissa Nathan, did something on a website? Doesn't prove Melissa Nathan's involvement. I mean, hell, she's even bringing currently a lawsuit against Jen Abel saying that her employee, Jen Abel, was smearing Blake Lively without her knowledge or her permission. It was acting on her own devices. She's literally accusing Jen Abel of, smearing Blake Lively beyond the scope of her employment. So, but here she is assuming that because Katie Case was employed by TAG, that, as her employer, Melissa Nathan was definitely behind it. The double standards is just wild. It's absolutely wild. But we know why she's going for Melissa Nathan. We know that because Melissa Nathan is a named defendant in the Blake Lively case. And the pair of them, they clearly got something going on where they are sharing information and so on and so forth and supporting each other to get discovery, which, as we saw with Blake Lively's letter, is beneficial to her. Well, if to be fair, if Katie Case gives Jonesworks the information, Lively's literally written a letter saying, well, we asked for it too and it's relevant to us, so we should get it too. It's not relevant to Blake Lively at all. That's crap. And, likewise, we all know why Blake Lively did the complete opposite of what Stephanie Jones is doing. She sued the employee but didn't go after the employer. Why? Because in my opinion, because they had a little backhand deal going on about, well, you give me the documents, I will file this sham lawsuit, we'll get a subpoena to sort out the subpoena power, so, everything will be right in the world and no one will have breached anything. And, if you hand over everything to me, I won't sue you. But it's just my view, it's my opinion. It's just how this case is now starting to look to me. But, overall, I see Blake Lively quite literally has nothing, to the point where she's asking the judge to tell the jury, yes, okay, she has nothing, but believe her anyway. Believe this missing evidence exists, and it was all Wayfarer's fault that it's not here today for you to look at. And then, she's also at the same time, got a plan B in, well, if we can prove that Stephanie Jones was smeared by one of the Wayfarer dependents, then, I can go and tell a jury that they have to believe me as well, because if she smeared her, then she would have smeared me too. But you see, the fatal flaw to that plan is, even if there is evidence, which I'm not convinced there is, that Melissa Nathan was part of any like disparaging website about Stephanie Jones, there is a history there. There is actually a history between Stephanie Jones and Melissa Nathan, in that Stephanie Jones tried to hire Melissa Nathan. It was all about to go through, and she was, about due to start Jonesworks, and then Melissa Nathan withdrew. We don't get the reasons why, but she withdrew. But she recommended someone else go and work at Jonesworks, only did. As a result, Stephanie Jones, according to Melissa Nathan, then cost Melissa Nathan a client that they were working on. So, like, where Jonesworks was the standard PR publicist, and Melissa Nathan was brought in to be the crisis PR for a mutual client. And Stephanie Jones, basically, according to Melissa Nathan, talked shit about her and cost her the client. So there's no motive behind Melissa Nathan smearing or doing anything disparaging to Blake Lively. So it's just some thoughts anyway. Just wanted to share. All right, guys, I will be back later, hopefully with motion for judgment on the pleadings. I just think that was kind of important to talk that bit through before we then look at the response, the opposition to. I keep calling it a motion for judgment on the pleadings. Oh, Leanne. The motion for spoliation sanctions, Wayfarer's opposition. So I want to go through all that before we kind of start getting to these kind of more summarizing motions. Okay, take care and have a good day.